host HC, and with me is...
Wolf.
And today we are back to the Masters of the universe with part two of Masters of the Universe Revelation, the 2D animated He-Man show from Netflix. We have not done the CG one yet. Maybe we'll get to it. Don't hold us to it. I'm not sure. But yeah, we are back with part two. And before we start talking about it, in case you haven't noticed, we have a review of part one, which we uploaded earlier sometime last year. We're in 2022 now. Need to get used to it. But so you can check that for our full thoughts. But to paraphrase, Wolf, what were your thoughts on season one, on part one rather?
Part one very much surprised me. I said before, like, I went into it not expecting much, and what I got from it was something really, really good and it probably didn't need to be that good, but it was, and I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, if you listened to part one, then again, my quick notes version is that I really enjoyed part one as someone who wasn't a big He-Man fan, not anything against the original show. It's just that it was a wee before my time, so I wasn't much aware of it aside from memes later on. And my actual experience with this franchise beforehand was just the DreamWorks She-Ra show, which you could check our full reviews on in our channel. So, yeah, but with that said, I really enjoyed part one. I was surprised by how much I liked it. And now we are with part two, and if I may just say it outright, I think part two is just as good, if not better, than part one. I really enjoyed this part as well.
I agree, but one problem I have with part two, I praised part one for feeling like it packed a lot into 5 episodes and nothing really felt too rushed. Part
Yeah.
two, I don't personally give that kind of praise to. Like, that praise, I have to take it back a bit. There are a few things that I felt, it did feel a bit rushed, to me at
I
least.
will we'll probably get to the small when we talk spoilers, but I didn't really feel it was rushed. But I wonder though if, because apparently it was supposed to be a one season which was cut in the middle
Mm.
and released separately. So I wonder, do you think it might have worked better if this was released alongside part one, if this was a full season?
Looking at it, I had that same thought while watching. I wonder how this would have felt if I'd watched it all together as one. And I do think it would have been a little bit better. I think it would
Yeah.
have helped more.
But still, like, I probably mentioned this. I am not much of a binger,
Mm.
even for shows that are not that long. I don't usually binge episodes, and especially for something like this, I like to space it out. So that way, the more recent I could watch, the closest I could watch the final episode of a season of a show we are doing before we record, I prefer it, and this is why I also like spacing it, because I can actually gather thoughts before I move on. It helps. It helps the brain
Mm.
process. But with this, I just started it and I want to keep going and going and going. I actually became addicted.
Yeah, I'm more of the binger. I'll, like, sit down and, like, this is my evening now.
Well,
And I'm
but
okay with that.
again, I know same binge on this because it's only 5 episodes. I am aware it sounds kind of ridiculous, but still, like, I was still invested. I was like, okay, I'll just sit down. I'll watch 3 episodes now and then do the other two an hour before the podcast, so that it will be fresh. But then I was like, I don't want to stop. I want to finish this. Let's go.
That's fair.
So.
Again, like,
Hmm.
all praise. This show, it pulls you in, and it pulls you in well, in my opinion.
Yeah, like again, animation is amazing. I also characters, wonderful characters. Again, I'm not familiar with this franchise beforehand, but I'm invested in those characters. These
Mm.
I would even argue they are not characters; they are human beings, and they write them like human beings. It's like, how are you doing this?
I
But
I will
and
say
also,
one
and I
complaint.
just want to say, not to give away anything yet, but specific scenes, and you might know what I'm talking about. When they're seeing the universe, as vague as I can
Mm,
put it, looks wonderful,
mm.
wonderful.
Yeah, like hands down the art style and the direction and everything they did with some of the scenes is very beautiful. I will say,
Mhm.
you praised the animation, and don't get me wrong, the animation is really, really good. Some of the final fights in the final episode or two
Mhm.
felt like they sacrificed the weight that they had before
Yeah,
for
I
more of
get
the speed and the spectacle of it, which is fine. I
which.
get it, but
Mhm.
I do think they could have kept the weight, and it still would have been it would have been a lot better. But I get they traded off, and I do understand that. So it doesn't
Yeah, and
hurt it, but it is noticeable. Like you can notice that the weight of some
I
of the blows or the
know
movement is kind of gone.
I know what you're talking about, but I also kind of realized that again, like you said, they had to make a trade at that
Hmm.
point for to get something else across. So I kind of get it,
Yeah,
but anyway, should we just move on to spoilers? I don't really have much else to say that's non-spoilery.
yeah. Let's
So
jump straight into it. Part two is really good. That's what you need to know. Go watch.
yeah, so and after you watch, come back here because we are talking spoilers in three, two, one. Still here, good. Here's something that I'm not necessarily sure if it's spoilers as much, but I kept it here because I could give actual examples to this. Something I really like about this show. And
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, just because I'm saying that shows don't do it like that doesn't mean they're doing it badly or anything, but a lot of shows are trying to kind of shove in conversations which feel important and feel, how should I say it, and really talk about what a character is going through, especially with
Hmm.
reboots of old stuff that are like, kind of stuff of like, are we doing the right thing, or was I supposed to do that? Was the
Think of it
like,
like the
oh,
need to explain. Like, oh, we have this old thing where there was assumptions made. You didn't really ever know. You just kind of assumed. But now we're redoing it all, so we have to explain it. We feel the need to
not
explain it.
not necessarily in terms of explaining stuff. I mean more in terms of when if a character makes a certain decision regarding something. If a character needs, if a character made some sort of a decision, like, okay, for example, from this show, we have this talk that Skeletor has with the Man in Arms in the dungeon, and he's talking to him about the power that Adam can get without the sword. That there's some sort of power in him, and the Man in Arms tells him that the reason Adam will always be more of a hero than Skeletor is because Adam always knew when to return the power of him, and once he was done fighting, like
Hmm.
when he didn't need him, and he returned him.
Yeah, he
While
used the power
Skeletor,
for others, not for himself.
yeah, and while Skeletor, after transforming, which by the way is a really cool design, if I may
Hmm.
just say, but now Skeletor has the sword and he's not giving it back. He's using this power. He's using the power of Grayskull, and they say it in this way of Adam will always be a better hero than you because he's using it for others and not himself. You are just keeping it for yourself, and that's it. And in any other show of this kind, like, okay, for example, if this was in She-Ra, the DreamWorks She-Ra, not to this on the show, it's a great show, but I feel like we would have dedicated 3 episodes to that question before they came to some sort of a realization about it. And here they just throw that idea in here. And they don't talk about it much afterwards, but they just kind of let you figure your own answers about it. And especially because at the end of episode one, Adam tries to become, to use the power without the sword, and it becomes this Hulk He-Man, which, by the way, is this a thing in the original?
Listen, I don't know. Don't ask me. I didn't even know He-Man could get He-Manier, but I guess the Hulk is a good example, a good idea of the
That's what it
more
was.
He-Man. I mean, no, I agree. It's just the Hulk, and that's fair.
Yeah.
The Hulk is more He-Man than He-Man, which is fair.
Yeah, which, don't get me wrong, I'm saying Hulk. I'm saying Hulk just because I have no idea if this thing actually has a lore name or something, but it was
even
cool,
if it doesn't, it's a good reference.
Yeah,
because that's what it is.
But they talk about this, and also they represent this idea of Adam turning into this beast He-Man, and they say, like,
Man.
it helped us get away. Yeah, okay. It's like it helped us get away from a predicament, but was it really a good thing that we did? Was it something you were supposed to do? Is this like a human thing to do? And again, I think in something like She-Ra or another show, they would actually delve into these morality questions for so long. But here they bring this up that in the terms that the characters are thinking about it, it's something that happened, but also they leave it open enough for you to make your own decisions on, do you think it was right on the character's part or not? And you, even if you don't agree with it, you can kind of tell where these people are coming from without them shoving an explanation into your face, because they trust you to realize these are humans and they act the way humans would act. And sometimes, even if something seems right at the moment, it may not be the right choice in the long run. So I like it that we don't delve into the psychology of this for too long. They put it there, but it's not in your face.
They do, again, they do come back to that though and show that Adam doesn't like it. They do show that it was wrong. So you can't say like, oh, they don't give you an answer. It's up to you. They do give you, they give you the character's opinion on it, exactly. I should say.
That's exactly, because again, Adam says he doesn't like it and he doesn't want to do it again. But Teela does tell, listen, I'm that predicament. If you wouldn't have done this, we would have been dead. And that's what I like. That, yeah, he doesn't like it, but at that specific time, that was his only shot. And the show doesn't necessarily take a stand in regard to was it a good thing or a bad thing. You can make the decisions yourself. You can agree with Teela that it was the best decision at the time, just never do this again. Or you can be with Adam, which it wasn't a good idea at all, no matter what the context is. You can decide on your own. But the show doesn't dwell into this more than it needed to.
You do have a reference point in She-Ra to this, right? And that's the evil Adora, red-eyed Adora, drunk Adora, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the fandom name for it.
Drunk Adora is probably what people call it. I think that's also the name I've seen more. So
they do have a reference for it, and you can compare. And to She-Ra's credit, it doesn't really dwell on whether or not it was a good thing. To be fair, though, it wasn't something Adora chose to do either, really.
Yeah.
So, it's not a direct one-to-one.
I won't say that when I compare this to She-Ra specifically, I won't necessarily say that this is what I'm comparing this to. I would compare it to other scenes, but I get what you mean.
Yeah. But I do agree with you, though. It is really nice and refreshing to see, hey, here are the characters' takes, not just the writers' takes, right? It is nice and refreshing to have it left open for you to decide. I know, don't get me wrong. I think subtlety has its place, and I think being, forthright on, hey, this represents this is the stance here, take it or leave it. I think that does have its place too in media. Like, I think that absolutely does belong. It's just nice to have those shows as well that say, it's up to you. Figure it out. You're smart.
Yeah.
Or dumb, and like me. Take your pick, but we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, and another thing I want to talk about is that we talked about the characters. The characters feel so human in how they're written, in motivations. Like when Adam reunites with his father, right? And
Mm.
after he powers down from
Well, even
Forky,
before then, when he's raging, and you can tell like there's a lot of anger and
yeah,
un, you know, what's the word? Built up and never, talked about or gone through anger directed at his father there for how his father treated him, and then you have, his father just recognizing that and understanding
yeah,
like, hey, even though he may not fully get the situation, he can clearly see that there's forgive me, excuse me, there's anger
yeah.
directed at him there, and he's just there apologizing to Adam for everything he got wrong.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's a
and not
really
only
good
that,
scene.
but they also kind of say that the father apologizes for what for the thing he thinks he did to Adam, but Adam also tells them, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry, I never told you about He-Man," which is also like, yeah, it's a good point because his mother knew and the
Mm-hmm.
father didn't. So that was one of those. Okay, again, they played both sides here, but they showed that they forgave each other because they're a family and
I
they
mean,
still love each other
they even
despite everything.
also
And when
they even also show that his father and his mother have issues with one another because his father was
yeah,
mad
that
at
I
his
was
mother for
about
keeping the
to
secret too,
yeah,
and they
I
go into
was
that.
I was about to mention that even though they're reunited now, they're a family again, and everything seems to be okay. The mother is still mad at the father for not accepting Adam before he knew he was He-Man, and and
I mean,
again,
they're even mad at each
it
other
makes sense.
because the father blamed the mother for
Yeah,
his death
yeah, that too.
because of the secrets
So
and never letting him know. And then you have
yeah,
Adam blaming himself because oh
yeah,
they're splitting up or they're having these issues because I made them keep this secret. I made my mom keep this secret.
yeah, and again, it's like they are humans. It's like
Mm-hmm.
these people are. It's like these characters are written as if they were people. Which, guess what? They might be magic people, but they are people. Thank you for understanding that.
Now, to be fair, we've talked a little bit about episode one here or there, but we've not talked about the best thing of episode one,
The opening.
Fisto, and his,
Can you repeat?
Fisto,
Can you repeat? You
the
you
character
cut you
Fisto,
cut
the
off.
guy with the big, iron glove,
Yeah,
who makes the
I
one
get you.
fist joke. He wants to fist
Yeah,
something.
I knew you were gonna bring him up, and I knew you would love him.
I
I
admit,
knew it.
I kind of figured like, oh, we're gonna have a lot of fist jokes this season. Nope, he's dead immediately. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
which I kind
fair, we
of,
got the one. I'll
like.
take it.
Yeah. Which again, I kind of like that it's like they wrote them and they realized, oh no, this is gonna be like our one note joke character. This is gonna be only, this is ever gonna be, let's just kill him off to emphasize the threat. Yeah, there we go. Done.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Fisto and like Clamp Champ are characters from the old show because these names.
It could be.
But I do love
Uh,
that they made certain to give him one fisting joke or two fisting jokes technically, how depending on how you want to take it. But
yeah.
I do love the fact that
Mhm.
they made absolutely certain like we're gonna give this man one fist joke. He's gotta make
Mhm.
one. Then he's dead, but only after he makes the one fist joke.
Yeah, it's like, if you're gonna go out with the one purpose you had, I
Mm-hmm.
suppose. And then,
Listen,
the
we all
other thing
know
I
no
kind of
one
wanted.
cares about Fisto other than the fist joke. Come on. We all know no one cares
Well,
about him other than the innuendo.
oh my God. Yeah, of course, of course. Which is why, you know what, he may only have like 5 minutes of screen time, but he's gonna rocket in memes. I promise you. If this, if memes are gonna come out of this rendition of He-Man, he's gonna be there. Mark my words.
I don't think that's the only
Don't
thing
let
that'll be. Well,
don't let me
we'll get
down,
there.
internet. Actually, kind of jumping ahead here, but if I may, we talked about the animation and how overall it's really great. But one thing I don't get is that there's this point where Evelyn is seducing Skeletor.
Oh God, we're going
How?
there already. Okay, I didn't
No,
need to know this. I didn't want this, but fair enough. I get it. I'm sure there are people out there who want to fuck Skeletor, and Skeletor looks like a guy who can fuck. But come on, I didn't want that. I didn't need it. But all right.
this is not what I was about to bring up,
But let's.
though.
That's
Like,
what that scene is, though. If we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about it. Skeletor fucks. I didn't want to know Skeletor fucks, but all right, I know Skeletor fucks.
For one, he doesn't even get to second base, so at least there's that.
They very much
But
imply, though, that there's been a lot more there.
no, they do imply it. But for the love of God, there's a point where she kisses him. How does that work? That's what I want to know. How? Because in terms of how
Magic.
this was
Oh,
drawn,
God, to explain
she's
shit.
just kissing his teeth and he's doing nothing. It cracked me
Listen, there's
up
only so
because
much you can do with animation.
I know, but it's like just at this point I was like, so that's how this works. Okay,
Listen,
sure, whatever. Which
now there's gonna be a meme.
I'm gonna bet you this was a joke thrown in by the animators. This was the animators just trolling and having fun with it.
I feel like this is for those weird people who really like Skeletor.
And I honestly,
I
I
know
think
you're
it
out
was
there.
just
You're all the respect to you. You like what you like.
we don't
Don't
shame,
talk to me though.
don't take this guy seriously. You like what you like, but it's just that little
Listen,
animation thing really freaked me out. I had to talk about it.
I don't
That's
have anything against you if you want to fuck Skeletor. That's entirely your want and your need. Just don't talk to me about it.
okay. Before this gets any weirder,
It can't.
what?
Well, it can, but we don't want to.
Uh, good night, everybody. But anyway.
Show's done.
But anyway, so Evelyn takes Skeletor's sword, and my God, that sounds really nasty now that you put this image in my head. Why did you?
You said it, not me. You came up with that one. That's
No,
on you.
but you had to make it weird.
I take no
You
credit.
had to make it weird.
I take no credit. None.
How humble of you to not take credit for
Just this once.
for that.
I'm a very humble
But
person.
anyway, she becomes evil.
Yeah, she becomes.
This,
She takes and combines the power of the sorceress that she became and the power of He-Man, and she becomes her own champion, and she becomes even stronger. Which is,
Yeah.
again, it's neat. I like
it's
the
neat, but
design change
and
for
I
her too.
also, yeah, and I also like it that it's kind of explained with a bit of again kind of a quick backstory. We see like where she came from, that she did fell on hard times, and on the one hand, Skeletor did help her. He gave her a purpose. He gave her something to strive for, and he helped her develop her skills. But she also says that, you know what? On the one hand, I owe him my life. On the other hand, I hate him. I hate this motherfucker. I want him done. I want him gone.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that,
it's really cool that they go into the fact that, hey, she was abused by him. It was very much an abusive relationship. And they don't really
yeah,
make, this is one of those things where it is more clear here, but and they don't really make any, oh, it's up to you of what it was. No, it was
yeah,
abusive. It was very
yeah.
clearly abusive.
But also, just maybe it's because Mark Hamill voices Skeletor in this, but this felt like if someone did the Joker Harley Quinn relationship, but instead of Harley just accepting the Joker's abuse because she's in love with him, this is like what would happen if Harley actually fought back against the Joker? What if
Haven't
one
they
day
done that?
Harley just snapped? Hmm?
Haven't they done that?
Maybe the closest thing I can kind of think about is Injustice, but that's because the Joker dies.
Hmm.
It,
Okay.
maybe there's a if there's a I'm sure there's a version of it somewhere, maybe at one point in the comics or something, but not entirely sure.
Okay.
But the point is though, if they ever did it in Batman material or not, that's not the point. I'm just saying it was a good version of that. It was a good
Yeah.
version of how to do. You know what? What if one day Harley Quinn just realized that the Joker is shit and she stood up and took over?
Well, and to be fair, right? Like this wasn't one day she realized. This was built up, right? Like she even says,
Yeah,
I've always thought about killing you. I've always
yeah.
wanted to
When
kill
I'm
you, but I've
saying
never
one
been
day, I'm not
able
saying
to.
she made a decision out of
Yeah.
the blue. I'm just saying that she just snapped at some
Yeah,
point.
it
And
does feel believable that this is the
yeah,
progression, especially in so much as she sees the power, she sees where it began, or what she feels like where it began, and she feels like
mhm.
hey, I suffered through everything I suffered through, and there was just no point. So why bother with any of it anymore? Why not just use this power to end everything? The entirety of
Yeah,
the
and it
universe.
kind of plays into her redemption as well, because and shows that she is different than Skeletor, because in the final battle she ends up kind of sacrificing herself to save. I forgot the little guy's name. Damn it.
Well, she doesn't
Yeah,
sacrifice herself, does she? Oh no, she
yeah,
does, isn't she? Yeah, that is how that
yeah, she
works, isn't it? Because
does.
she goes to Preternia. You
Yeah,
are right.
but
I
yeah, I'm still.
didn't exactly catch that until just now. Wow. Huh.
Wow. But you caught that people want to fuck Skeletor. I see where your
They were
priorities
very
are.
explicit about that one. Listen, they were subtle about her, changing places with Orko. They weren't subtle
Yeah.
about, Skeletor
Okay.
fucking.
Mhm. Yeah. Priorities of writing in the animation world, I suppose. But but on that note, she sacrifices herself, and like her motivation is to put an end to this. And we see how different she is because at the final battle, even when all seems lost, Skeletor is still insistent on beating He-Man, and even because he even says, "No, this battle was always between us, Skeletor and He-Man. We are the main conflict here." And He-Man tells him, "I don't want to fight you. We just fought alongside each other. I want to end the fighting." And Skeletor is just head stuck in the wall. He just wants to keep fighting He-Man because that's all he knows.
And then,
That's all.
He-Man does in that fight by throwing him away, even saying, like, you just don't get it. This isn't about us. Which is
Yeah,
probably a subtle nod to, this season of the show and this, version of He-Man not really being about just He-Man and Skeletor anymore.
yeah.
It trying to do more than just that, which is a neat little nod.
Mhm. Indeed. But again, I like it that it shows that Skeletor is really, um, he's not very wide. He's not. How do I say it? I can't believe I forgot the word. But the point is that he's very nearsighted. He doesn't
Hmm.
think of the big picture. He just has the one thing he wants, which is beating He-Man, and that's it. But when even if he joins He-Man in a fight, even if he realizes there's a bigger threat, he still wants to take him down. And again, it's one of those things I'm talking about where Adam doesn't have any personal beef with Skeletor. He just fights him to protect the kingdom. But Skeletor at this point just fights Adam because he wants He-Man dead at any cost. And I like this dynamic. This is a good dynamic for a hero and bad guy.
Hmm. Fair.
Mhm. Got anything you want to
I
say?
mean, yeah, we've not talked too much about it yet. So, do you want to talk about, Tila and the reveal that the sorceress was her mother and all of her
Sure.
character depth?
I think I talk too much, so want to take the lead on this one?
Well, first off, completely fine that, of the reveal that the sorceress is her mother. I think that's nothing wrong with that. It works and, does well. The issue I had was Tila's development in this one felt a little rushed, and it felt a little bit back and forth too much, in my opinion. Of, hey, I have a plan. Okay, we're going to do this. Okay, I can't do it. I don't know if I can do it. Should I do it? And then, hey, I'm going to be the sorceress. Oh, I don't want to be the sorceress. Hey, I'm angry at you. Oh, hey, now I'm not angry at you. I forgive you. Oh, hey, I'm angry at you again. It felt too back and forth with her and her mother, in my opinion,
Mhm.
especially near the finale. I get why they did
I
it, and she's not, and she does want to be different from her mother. She doesn't want to give up what her mother gave up in the same way
Mhm.
and be stuck, within Grayskull doing the same thing. She wants to do more than that and be more than that. It's just
Mhm.
it felt a bit too back and forth, in my opinion.
I actually like the fact that it's back and forth because, again, considering the
Again, I
situation,
don't
Tila
mind that
is
it's back and forth.
in.
I just felt it was too much. It flip
Hmm.
flopped too much, in my opinion,
I don't think it was too much,
which
but
is fair.
I get what you mean. It probably, maybe it's a personal thing, or maybe I just don't see it, but I don't know. It didn't bother me.
It was the one thing that I would say I have a nitpick of with this with part two. Otherwise, part two is perfectly fine in my opinion. Like, it's really good. But this one,
Mhm.
it felt like she flip flopped a bit too much, and it never felt like she was really committing to what she had in mind,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
One part I really want to point out, if unless we have some other big plot things to talk about, because I want to, with the exception of the ending, I'm saving the ending for obviously the end because that kind of leads to a discussion I want to ask you about.
I mean,
So
a lot of really great fights, as we've already mentioned. Again, I feel some fights they really showed the weight off, and then other fights they sacrificed the weight for the spectacle of it, which is fine, which is fair, and the spectacle still looks really good. So again, praise to the animation; they did extremely well. If I'm not mistaken, these are the same people behind the Castlevania
yeah,
series two.
Castlevania,
So you
and I
can
think
uh, yeah, Castlevania, Blood of Zeus. Like, you can really see how they've grown since Castlevania, right?
yeah,
Like, you can
definitely.
really see that here, especially.
Mhm.
So full praise to them. Like, they're getting better. They're doing a lot more, and they're really showing what they're capable of. And I would really like to see this
Mhm.
animation studio do more in the future too.
Yeah, most definitely. Um, So now, when it comes to some small moments that I like between characters, I just want to say that one part near the end, before like the big when He-Man charges towards the castle and towards the army of bad guys, that all the armies that Tila called for, they're like, He-Man, there are no safe spots, and he says there is one behind me.
That was good.
You know, you know something. I know the original He-Man is a meme thing and something, but that line was pretty fucking badass.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Very fair.
And there's also, I think, there's also like apparently like well after Skeletor turns himself into the good guys, and he tells them that Evelyn is gonna getting more powerful and stuff, and he tells Adam like, "What are you gonna do? Just walk in and try to talk to him?" And he's like, "Oh, that's actually your plan. Okay."
Yeah, he's like, good God, we're actually gonna go and talk to her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's good.
then at the start where he's just about to literally finish off Adam, he's about to kill off He-Man, and then Tila teleports them, and he just has this thing where he swings the sword. It's like and it's like that's such as this is such a small thing that they didn't even have to animate, but they did. It gives Skeletor such that yeah, it might be an evil skeleton thing that wants to that wants to rule the world, but he's such a pathetic loser, and I love it where he just throws this mini tantrum like when he doesn't go. I
I
love
mean,
it.
he's a child, right? Like, he's a spoiled
Yeah.
child. He's a brat. He's what's the word? He's he has tantrums and everything. Like, it makes him feel like the villain that he is, like, the over the top villain that he is.
Mhm.
It adds to it.
Yeah, I don't think actually something I like is that when Tila gives credit to her friend, I forgot her name. God damn it.
Andra.
Andra, yes. So she gives Andra credit, with protecting Adam and, helping him. And the king tells her, like, listen, whatever you want, let me, let me give it to you. And she's like, there's nothing I really want. There's nothing that can really help me. And he tells her, you know what? You are now my lieutenant. You are now commanding a part of my army. And she's so happy about it, and by the end she even gets the chance to prove herself, and to the point even the king is like, I got a really good lieutenant now. And so I like those small moments. Those small moments are great. You agree with me, I think.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of small moments here. Also, just want to point out, maybe the episode description is wrong, but you said Evil Lynn sacrifices herself. That's not
Yeah,
what happens, according to the episode description. Because I was a little bit curious, because I didn't think that's what would happen. It says here that she just travels to Trolla and just abandons her magic staff. That's not Preternia. So
okay,
apparently Orko's
so
just alive
maybe.
because Orko's just alive because she stopped it from happening. I don't know how that works.
mm,
Just to show
Yeah,
not wanting to kill Orko.
By the way, when
Cowards.
Olcos comes back and he does a, I don't remember the thing exactly, but he says something along the lines of, "Oh, so they said that death takes cold. So what if I take like the king of death or something?" I don't remember the line. It's annoying me, but you get.
Oh
He
yeah,
makes
yeah.
this.
The scare glow guy says, a king's fear
Yeah.
tastes great, and then he says, like, well, hang on, I wonder how the king of fears fear would taste. Whatever line. But yeah, apparently Evil Lynn
Yeah.
doesn't sacrifice herself to save Orko.
Okay,
I like
but
your version better.
maybe.
That would have been a lot better. So apparently that's not how that works. But
But maybe the future could retcon this. I don't know. But this
I
is
mean,
kind of the
getting
impression
into
I
that,
got.
do you want to? I mean, I agree.
If we
That would
if
have
we
been
covered everything,
well. Give me just a
we'll
second.
talk about
In speaking, like, I do think your version of Evil Lynn sacrificing herself and instead her soul getting taken instead of Orko's would have been really good and a really good end. They didn't do that, and that kind of goes into the ending of, yeah, we'll probably see more of her about that. But in that regards, I wish they wouldn't have ended it the way they ended it.
it. For the
Getting
record,
into it,
I don't mind that there's a cliffhanger for an ending because again, I feel like this season wrapped itself up and wrapped the story which started in season one really well.
I don't know. I'm just
Just
tired of cliffhangers. I really am. I
I
just
do
want things
too.
to end, and I feel like this and again, like you say, this wraps everything up so well. I don't need more. I don't really even want more He-Man after this. Like, if you get a season
Yeah,
2, I'll probably watch it, sure, but I don't want
season
to.
three,
Season
if anything.
3, parts. Ugh.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but I get you, and but the reason I'm pointing out that at least the plot itself kind of ended, is because like I said, we get a lot of shows that are just leaving you with a setup, and then they end on a cliffhanger, and you have no
cough,
idea when you're
cough,
gonna see.
9 realms, cough, cough.
Yeah, a very good example. But and the thing is that they don't leave you with enough. And considering this studio, I even say Castlevania with season three, it's like
Hmm.
they leave you with such a bare minimum, and they're like, this bare minimum doesn't cut it anymore. I want a story that can be finished. And the thing is that, yeah, this has a cliffhanger, but I'm at least satisfied. I'm left with something that even if there's no season three after this, I could just ignore the final minute.
Which is fair.
It's not. Yeah, it's not necessary. I don't say that I am now a fan of cliffhangers. I'm just saying if you're gonna do it, at least before the cliffhanger, give me some sort of resolution. With that said, the cliffhanger. What do you think?
Excuse me. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, I wish they didn't do it. I wish they would have just ended it without that being there, because essentially, I mean, it does, like, it hints at a potential season 3 and what would go on in season 3, which is Skeletor's back at, Snake Mountain attacking everything and pissed off that his minions didn't come, and they're like, but Motherboard, and he's like, oh, Motherboard, I'm going to destroy it, here's your Motherboard. And instead of destroying it, Motherboard changes in and starts to assimilate Skeletor into being like all mechanical deal, and then you see a Horde insignia pop up.
Yeah, so here's the
So
thing.
Hordak.
This is gonna goes back to one of my problems. Again, I could ignore it because the story of the first two parts at least concluded, and regardless if there's a part 3 or not, that's I can ignore this cliffhanger. But for the cliffhanger in itself, I think they kind of banked on people knowing the She-Ra show, and people knowing
Oh,
the
that's not a
characters
She-Ra
from.
thing. That's just a He-Man thing. Like, the
Yeah,
Horde
but
is
the
in
thing
He-Man
is, when
too.
I'm yeah, but hear me out. For one, if you go to the episode list and you go and you hover your mouse above the little Horde, which is written in blue there, it lists you. This is a list of characters that appear in She-Ra and the Princess of Power. So I think it's kind of more associated with She-Ra than He-Man
I feel
in
like that's a
general.
wiki thing, not so much. Again,
Could
I
be,
feel
could
like,
be. Again, I'm drawing conclusions here based on
which
what
is
I know,
fair.
and also for the record, even if it's like an entirety of a Masters of the Universe thing, or if it's just a She-Ra thing, the fact of the matter is that people know DreamWorks' She-Ra. People know that show. People love that show so much
I
so
don't
that
feel
they
like there's going
are
to be a lot of crossover
that
here, though, viewer
yeah,
wise.
hold on, that they are furious that Amazon is doing a She-Ra show in live action and what that is gonna be
They
entail.
are? I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
yeah,
That's going to
it
be
was, and
either amazing in a good way or
uh,
amazing in a bad way.
all I'm gonna say is that people are not happy, but that's a topic for another day. But the thing is, and what was the main group of bad guys in the She-Ra show? The Horde, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they would have just left that symbol there for nothing. I think they know they want to attract people with that knowledge. That said, though, and I think Noelle Stevenson, who's the creator of She-Ra, at least the Netflix She-Ra,
Mm-hmm.
she actually went on to say that she'd be interested in doing a crossover with this show.
Yeah,
The
Christmas special.
thing with a Christmas special crossover nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
With this Revelations show, the thing is though, Revelations and DreamWorks' She-Ra don't seem to take place in the same universe. So how are they gonna do that?
I mean, technically it is the same universe, but like,
Is
if
it?
the lore of She-Ra and He-Man is all in the same universe, same thing, right? Like, it's all connected. Don't ask me how. I'm not getting
Yeah,
into it. I just know it is. But in terms of, DreamWorks is She-Ra and this show, no, they're not connected in any way. Not in the way that He-Man and She-Ra are generally connected, right? Like, the way
yeah.
it works is
That
that He-Man and She-Ra are like brother and sister, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, they are siblings as far as I'm aware.
And that's how all that connects together, blah, 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 magic, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
and the
We don't
reason
got to
it's not a
explain
part
shit.
of the dream of She-Ra is because they wanted to let She-Ra kind of stand on her own and not
Mm-hmm.
connected to him, which
Mm-hmm.
is fair. By
Also,
all means,
probably because
it's
DreamWorks
fair.
didn't own the rights to He-Man, but,
Well, but either way, it worked in just presenting She-Ra as her
Yes.
own thing and not just the
Yeah, I
the
mean,
girly He-Man.
She-Ra's an
It
amazing
gave
show.
her,
Go watch She-Ra and the
yeah.
Princesses of Power.
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
support Noelle
I'm not.
Stevenson.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying though that in terms of the show itself, it did give the character a lot more of a staying power
Yeah,
instead of being just the girly side of He-Man. Because I think I'm not sure, haven't watched that or anything, but I feel like that was kind of
I mean,
the stereotype that the
yeah,
original
yeah,
had.
like the original
And,
was, hey, we have He-Man, a toy for boys. Here's She-Ra, the same toy but for girls now. But and it's more
and
girly. But no, it's
but if
they
you
they
put
definitely changed it up.
that, yeah, but if you put that hold symbol in Masters of the Universe, now that She-Ra is a lot more well known thanks to the Netflix show, how would the crossover, be it a Christmas special or not, how would a crossover like this even work, considering these are two different shows, two different art styles, two different everything?
I
Are
would
they
be
gonna pull
interested
it?
to see.
Yeah, because they mentioned in Shira that the Horde were kind of going around from planet to planet. Could they just excuse that the Shira, the Eternia from Shira and the Eternia from this show are two
Personally,
different planets?
I would be interested to see them do like Noelle Stevenson She-Ra in this animation style, right? Do you
Mhm.
get me? Like, do you follow me?
Yeah,
Basically, you get Adora and Catra and the rest, but they're in this animation style. I would
yeah,
love
that's
that.
another thing. But maybe if they travel to the He-Man planet, they will be in that outside. But if He-Man and Tila and others will travel to the
Oh yeah, I
To
would
the
also
Shira planet,
love
they'll be
the
in that.
He-Man of this universe in that animation style. Like,
Yeah,
either way, it would be just wonderful. And
into the
honestly,
He-Man verse. Let's fucking
hmm.
go.
Like, I would be interested if they ever did a crossover in it. Personally, I think it would be good for a one-off. Don't do much more than that with it. It would be fun for a one-off thing of, this probably doesn't make any sense. This probably has no bearing on anything, but have fun with it. Sure, I'm down for
Yeah,
that.
and
Let's have fun with it.
yeah, I guess it could be fun. The thing is, though, we don't know what's happening yet. So this is one of those things where we need to wait
Oh yeah,
and
it's one of those
see
things
where
where
they're going with it.
it's fun to do thought experiments of like, oh, how would they do this, and what would this be like, and what would this be like, and what would Catcher playing off of this character be like, or what would Adora playing off of this character be like, blah blah blah, etc
Yeah,
etc.
but again,
But we don't know anything, and we may
it
never
all
get
comes
anything.
down. And again, it all comes down to the fact that I don't think DreamWorks has necessarily the rights to him and just Shira. So it's
But
how are they gonna
I
do it
mean, they would have to
necessarily?
do something similar to what Sony and Disney did with Spider-Man. Of hey, we agree to collaborate with whoever has the rights for this and that, and
Yeah,
we do it
don't
through
get me wrong.
whoever.
If it's gonna happen and it's gonna work, then by all means I'll be down for it. But it
Basically,
feels like a bit of a stretch to have this in the cards unless we nothing is announced
I
yet.
mean, nothing's on the
It's
cards. This was
interesting
just
to know.
Noel talking like, hey, my opinion, I would, I'm interested in doing this. But it really just depends on, is DreamWorks interested? Is, the company who owns He-Man
Are
behind
the
them interested? Is
are the
Netflix
people,
interested?
yeah, are the people who giving me the money to make this interested?
Yeah.
That's the
Like, one or
and
two
who
of those
knows? Maybe
companies
something
have to
was
step forward
pitched.
to convince the others.
Yeah. And again, like I said, maybe something was pitched by the time we are recording this. Maybe something is gonna happen. We don't know. What we do know, though, is that that hint is dropped in there, and kind of what I want to ask you with that hint of the Horde symbol. Would you want to see a crossover, or do you want to just have a new Shira for this show?
Hmm. Personally, I think they should do, again, like, having the Horde doesn't mean you're going to see She-Ra, right? One, like, the Horde
Yeah.
is all over the place, doing their thing all over, everywhere, blah, blah, blah. It's the Horde. They're just a common enemy. But as it stands, like, if they did She-Ra in the show, I think
Mhm.
I would rather them see them do their own She-Ra and do their own thing. If they want to take
Mhm.
references from the show, go for it. It would be really cool if they got the same voice actor from that show in this one. It would be a nice nod. It'd be neat. But otherwise,
Yeah.
do your own thing. You know, let that
Mhm.
one stand as it does, as its own thing, doing its thing. You know, that is the She-Ra that people know from She-Ra and the Princess of Power, and they like that one. Let it stand on its own. And
Mhm.
forgive me,
All good.
let the She-Ra of He-Man stand on her own and do her own thing, right? And be whatever she is. But I don't think you'll see She-Ra in the He-Man show if they do any more seasons. I think it will. You're only going to see He-Man. Like this is He-Man's show, and that is She-Ra's show, as it's always been.
Which, is fair, all things considered. Like, if
And if they do a
if
crossover
I'm
show, it'll be
gonna,
called something different.
mhm. Well, so on that note,
He-Ra.
anything else? Hero, no, please don't. All right. So with all that said, anything else you want to add on Masters of the Universe Revelation before we close off?
I'm happy with what we got, and barring the cliffhanger, you know, it was a really good ending. And they did extremely well. I'm very satisfied with it. I'm walking away satisfied, and that's all I need. I
Yeah,
don't need another season. If I get another season, cool, but I don't need or really even want it, to be honest.
yeah. I'm overall I agreed. So I think with that said, that's all for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed. What did you think about the second half or second season, whatever you want to call it, of Masters of the Universe Revelations? Do you think the show should cross over with She-Ra in any capacity? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below on our
And do
Twitter,
you
which
think
is Berkcast
Skeletor
with a capital
fucks?
no. On our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C,
You don't
and
have to
on
answer
our
that question
Tumblr, which is
for us.
Berkcast
We
Team,
don't want to know
where
from you. We don't
you
want to hear from
really
you.
can talk about Skeletor having sex,
No,
otherwise
no, no, no,
Tumblr
no,
will
no,
kill
don't. We don't want to hear from you. Stay away.
you. I just said
We respect you.
they couldn't
You like what
they
you like.
couldn't talk to you about it there because then Tumblr will kill the account. But okay. With that said, I was HC,
I was Wolf.
and we will see you all next time. Take care, and you have the power.
Bye bye.